Guys, so this morning I was talking to one of my brown belts, Tim, who was telling me that this idea that he had sort of adopted of old man jiu-jitsu was getting in his way and kind of creating some problems for him. And then I was kind of sharing with him that I sometimes think this idea of old man jiu-jitsu is a bit BS, and maybe not complete BS, but a bit restrictive. So here's the story. Here's what happened. Tim is a brown belt, was rolling, he's about 50 years old, just heads up, and he was rolling with one of our black belts named Mark, who has a really good knee shield half guard game. It's incredibly tough guard to pass. I love trying to pass it. It's very tough. And when he was working against Mark's guard, he was following what he had adopted as the old man jiu-jitsu way, which is when he's passing, he's down low, he's squeezing, he's putting pressure, and he's trying to pressure into him, right? The only problem is because Mark plays a really good knee shield half guard and butterfly half guard game, that works right into his game. So Mark's able to catch arm locks and shoulder locks and sweeps and everything else. And Tim said, he's like, man, I'm getting exhausted trying to roll with him. I'm getting swept and submitted left and right. This isn't working for me. So eventually, at a loss for what to do, he simply breaks the rules and he does what he's not supposed to do, right? Because he's old, right? He should be doing old man jiu-jitsu. And he gets up and he starts trying to standing pass side to side. Now, this was the right move, because when you think about it, a knee shield and a butterfly half, those kinds of position and half guard, they don't work well against standing opponents. The bottom person either has to adjust from the bottom and to get the person to come back down, or they have to play a different guard completely. So it was the right move. And all of a sudden, he's working and going back and forth, and he's getting some responses from Mark. Now, Mark is a very good black belt and was able to adjust and play, but Tim said that he wasn't as exhausted doing that, and he also had a little bit more success in at least staying sort of nullifying some of the attacks that he was getting caught in before. So it was a win for him, right? Now, I share that with you because I know we have some older people that watch the channel, but even if you're not older, you might be watching this and you might have something that you think of yourself as unique. Like, so there's old man jiu-jitsu, there's small people jiu-jitsu, lanky people jiu-jitsu, there's all these different categories. And the thing that I talk about this on the channel all the time, you want to be very careful about allowing yourself to search for simple solutions to complex problems, right? That's something humans, it's what we want to do. We want the simple commandment to follow for this very complex problem, but rarely does it exist, right? And you got to be careful about that. You see it all the time in dieting, right? In dieting, think about it this way. There's a million diets and they all have this like really simple commandment, don't they? Don't eat meat. Eat only meat. Don't eat carbs. Eat carbs, but don't eat fat. There's all these different diets and they keep these very simplistic rules, right, for people to follow. And some people say that their diet works and their diet works. The thing is all the diets work for people, for certain people, depending on their food preferences and how their body responds to them. And so there isn't one diet to follow, right? There's a lot of different ones, and it depends on you as a person, doesn't it? Jiu-jitsu is very much the same way. You can adapt these ideas from old man jiu-jitsu or whatever type of jiu-jitsu you want, and a lot of them could be very good, right? For instance, keeping pressure, generally as an old guy, it's a pretty good idea because the person doesn't move as much. There are certain positions that as an older person you might like more, where you have a little bit more attachment even from the guard, right? But that's not to say that sometimes you may need a different solution from a different category, if you will, right? Like the standing passing. It's not something a lot of people talk about. Hey, you're an old guy, you standing passing. But in his case, it's what he needed. It's like a buddy of mine who's like a avid low carb kind of guy. Got in the diet, lost a bunch of weight, started exercising more, having a lot of success with that. And he said that he eventually ran into a wall where the low carb stuff wasn't cutting it. And so he started adding a sweet potato or some fruit into his meals around his workouts. He's low carb the rest of the time, but during those parts of the day, he'll eat a little bit more fruit, right? So the solution to his problem wasn't in the category that he was ascribed to. And so I share that with you guys. Again, we all have different unique problems that we're going to face, different issues that are going to come up, and we're going to have to find our solutions. Again, if you find someone online, talk to your coach, maybe you listen to some advice from some bearded asshole on the internet that talks to you through YouTube. Take that advice in and listen to it, but ultimately you need to then test it out yourself. Get your hands dirty with it. See how it works for you. And it may work great for you. Then again, it may not. And if it doesn't, that's okay. That's not to say it's wrong, because this is the beautiful part about jiu-jitsu. You can talk to, a dozen different black belts. You can ask them the same question and you can get several different correct answers. It's just the way that they found a solution to the problem, right? And by being restrictive and ascribing or sort of identifying as this or saying, I'm going to play this style of jiu-jitsu, you then start to close off potential solutions to your problem, right? Because they could be there. Just like the low carb. Oh, I can't eat that because I'm a low carb guy. But maybe that would actually serve your solution, serve to be the solution, right? Just like, hey, I'm an old guy. I'm going to do standing passing. Oh, you shouldn't do standing passing. That's not an old guy jiu-jitsu style, right? You guys get the idea. So just an idea to chew on for your jiu-jitsu. Wanted to share that with you guys. I'll talk to you next time.